Hello everyone. Today me and my team would like to present to you about the occupational toxicology. First, we move to the introduction part, which is occupational toxicology or industrial toxicology is the application of the principles and methodology of toxicology to understanding and managing chemical and biological hazards encountered at work. The objective of the occupational toxicologist is to prevent adverse health effects in workers that arise from exposures in their work environment. The science of toxicology has many applications. It has a lot of applications. One of these relates to exposure of people to noxious or hazardous agents during the course of their work field of occupational toxicology. The work environment has played a significant role in the occurrence of the adverse human health effects. Next, we move to the second point, which is the definition of occupational exposure limits. In general, the occupational exposure limit represents the maximum airborne concentration of a toxic substance to which a worker can be exposed over a period of time without suffering any harmful consequences. So that answers the second point. After that, we move to the permissible levels to exposure are assessed. How the permissible levels of exposures are assessed. On this point, occupational health specialists, including toxicologists, rely upon the human and animal data to determine safe exposure levels. Effects observed in workers can be reproduced in a laboratory animal. It becomes possible to investigate the mechanism that might reasonably be expected to produce such effects. On the other hand, shedding light on the mechanism by which a designated effect is produced in a test animal species may make it easier to find ways to prevent such effects from occurring in humans. It may also help to identify subtle or delayed effects that have not been observed in workers, but to which health professionals should be alerted. That's all. Thank you.
Working as a lab worker are highly risk to expose with many kind of toxicants. It because almost all the time we are working in the lab and handling with many kind of chemical. Organic solvent or organic compound is one of the common chemical that used in the lab. The example of this organic solvent is such as benzene, methane, acetate, xylene, and many more. This kind of chemical are easily to volatile in temperature room, so it easy to evaporate, and it also easy to penetrate to human body via inhalation. Other than inhalation, it also can penetrate to human via oral and direct contact. So when we are overexposed toward this kind of chemical, it can cause adverse effect to us, such as respiratory disease, liver problem, skin problem, and even cancer. So we need to extra careful in handling this kind of chemical. Even a little mistake we done, it will cause a big problem to us. So to avoid this problem happen, we need to use a right PPE and follow our procedure in handling chemical.
Agriculture commonly, pesticide commonly used in agriculture sector, and in Malaysia, usually the farmer use a chemical pesticide to control the insect. And one more thing, in Malaysia, there are many case and long exposure to the farmer, and mostly it's a little bit costly to buy the organic pesticide to control the insect, and the prolonged exposure can cause the many adverse effect and side effect for the human body, and there are few routes that can affect the human. For example, from the dermal, inhalation, and the oral exposure. And when we touch something and we drink or smoking without washing the hand can cause the toxicity in the body. And then we need to the control to minimize the exposure. We need to wear full PPE when we try to use the pesticide. And then first check the label. Label can help to know how level to control the pesticide.
Welding fumes are a complex mixture of metallic oxides, silicates, and fluorides. Fumes are formed when a metal is heated above its boiling point and its vapor condenses into very fine solid particulates. Welding fumes generally contain particle form, the electrode and the material being welded. What are the factors that affect workers' exposure of welding fumes? First, type of welding process. Second, composition of welding rod. Third, filler metals and base metal used. Fourth, type of coating present. The toxicity of the welder. First, it can cause asphyxiation. That's ability of gas or vapor to displace oxygen from air by dilution. For the example, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and inert gas such as helium, argon, and neon. Then, it can cause interfering with the ability of the body to transport oxygen, such as carbon monoxide, cyanides, hydrogen sulfide. There are particulates, particle by size. First, non-inhalable particle, such as larger than 200 ppm. Second, inhalable particle, nasopharyngeal region, such as smaller than 200 particle meter, deposit in nose or trachea. Dissoluble particle are hazardous. And for third, respirable particle, such as smaller than 10 particle meter and deposition in alveolar area.
A major group being a construction painter and others industry in which large number of painter. 1,000 of chemicals are used in paint products. Painter are commonly exposed to solvent such as formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is colorless and highly toxic, flammable at gas room temperature, that is heavier than air, and it has pungent, highly irritating odor that is detectable at low temperature room. Persons exposed to only formaldehyde vapor do not pose substantial risk at secondary contamination. Person whose clothing or skin is not contaminated with a solution of formaldehyde can cause secondary contamination by direct contact or through off-gassing vapor. Most formaldehyde exposure occur by inhalation or by skin or eye contact. Formaldehyde is absorbed by the lung, gastrointestinal tract, and to a lesser extent skin.
Workplace monitoring means the measurement and evaluation of occupational exposure to a hazard experienced by a person. Workplace monitoring can help employers review and assess worker exposure to heat and cold, then determine the appropriate control measure to ensure that exposures are properly controlled. We have to understand how the workplace can affect worker performance and health. Biological monitoring is a way of assessing chemical exposure by measuring the chemicals or its breakdown product in a biological sample, for example, urine or blood. Biological monitoring is particularly useful where chemicals can be significantly absorbed through the skin, where controls rely upon the use of personal protective equipment, for example, glove and mask. Biological monitoring has a number of roles in exposure assessment. Our case studies illustrate some of the situations where it has been useful. First, to check that control measures are working. Second, to check that work practice are protective. And third, to check that training is understood and followed.